Well, it's been quite a while since I've done a video on this thing, but I've been pretty much hauling ass on it, trying to make up for lost time. And obviously, we got all the sheet metal on it, got all my lines all nice and tight. I'm liking it. The car still needs to be blocked off, the final blocking on it, and then maybe another coat of primer. Who knows? We'll see how it blocks off. But should be pretty darn straight. But what I've been spending a lot of time on for the past about a month, I guess, is this front end. Basically, you can see I shaved the bumper and kind of clipped it. I didn't tuck it, French it in. I just set it into its factory body indentation. So that way it's nice and tight. I still plan on welding this up. I'm going to close that up, make it all one piece fender, and that'll clean that up. Then when I weld up this, I'll weld up in here a little bit just to tighten up this gap a little bit. This gap will be cleaned up with fiberglass. But I really like how the bumper tucks in. Did a lot of modifications on it to get it to fit like this because it's still bolted on. You can see the bolt right there, and I custom made the bracket so it locks in to the bumper on the upper side and then bolts in on the bottom side, and then it still has these bolts, but I obviously put button head Allens there and modified them. This bracket is actually welded to the bumper. So everything is welded in place, but the bumper is removable. And I got, basically my goal was to get the same gap, which is like 3/16 of an inch gap, just like what you'd see on the door jambs. So pretty happy with that, happy with what I accomplished. But the next thing that I've been spending a ton of time on is this lower valance. What I did is I moved the marker lights, driving lights out 5 inches. They were further in, and there was big holes right here for the bumper bracket. So I cut them, moved them over, and then cleaned up that hole type of thing. Metal finished everything inside and out because the inside of these fenders, the inside of everything is still going high gloss. So I want it to be perfect on the inside as it is the outside. But anyway, so we moved these marker lights out 5 inches, and then that gave me the opportunity to put in a grill. So what I did is I made this grill. You can see all the grinding mess. There's crap everywhere, but I caught my blanket on fire a few times. But anyway, the grill here, what the whole idea was, instead of cheating and doing what everybody else does, they just put a mesh in there or a screen or whatever, and I mean it looks okay, but I was like, you know what, that's just lazy. Let's duplicate the factory grill. So I did it. I duplicated it, but the difference is this is steel. This is plastic. So it would have been great. Now I can use this grill, I guess, to make a mold off of it if I want to create grills further down the road. But yeah, this grill is all pure steel, and I cut the valance. I also removed the flat spot that was right there for the license plate, so that way it has perfect shape. I got my lines, all, if you look this way, everything matches up perfect. The dimensions in between here and here are exactly the same. The dimensions of the material for the crossbars versus the vertical bars are exactly the same. So pretty happy with how everything all turned out on that. So it's not quite done. My next step is I got to weld it on the back side. I'm going to just tack it in place. it fits together kind of like Legos. It's interlocking. So when I weld the back side together, that'll lock the front side and it'll keep everything all nice and sharp and tight looking. Then it's going to have screws going in from the, there's going to be a screw right here, 3 screws on the top side, and probably 2 screws on the bottom side that are countersunk in, that are actually going to be fastening it in place. So that's where we're at. I'm just about done with all this. I got to, now that I got the front bumper all done, a little bit of tuning up on it. But once I get everything all tuned up on the bumper up here, get this bodywork done and primered up here, before I start to sand the car down or block it down for the last time, I'm going to come back here to the back bumper, and I have the original back bumper that needs to be re-chromed. I'm going to use it to cut it and fit it to the body as well. So basically the idea is I'll get rid of the bumper bolts, of course. There's holes right here for the little bumper guards. So I'm not going to put those stupid things on. So basically I'll fill in these holes, modify the bracket so the bumper moves forward. It's going to be, right now it's about a 1/2 inch gap. So that's all going to be tightened up by, down to like 3/16. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip the bumper. So someplace in this area, I'm going to take a section out and shorten it up. So I don't want it overlapping like that. That's just something that I didn't like what GM did. So I like everything about the car, right? You don't want to modify and screw everything up, but at the same time, I'm just trying to enhance it and perfect it. So anyway, when I move this bumper forward, obviously it's going to go even further forward. So I'm going to have to take probably 1 inch out of this to make it more of a stubby. And then it's going to be right up against the body, tucked in nice and tight. So this bolt will be eliminated as well. So the bolting of the bumper will be 100% from inside the trunk, nothing on the outside. So that'll take care of the rear bumper. Once that's done, the bumpers will go out for chroming. It took a lot of work, but I finally got the the carpet that I wanted. Excuse me. It's a nice gray. It's the gray color that I was hoping and expecting. What they kept on sending me, I was ordering silver carpet and it was coming back as beige. It was horrible. So that took like 3 or 4 months of battling with the company to get it right. But we're coming along. The engine, it's all just about ready to rock and roll. The transmission I actually pick up tomorrow. It got fully rebuilt. But I'm pretty happy with the engine, how it all turned out. I painted the block, detailed some of this stuff up. This was just raw cast metal, so I polished it. But put button head stainless steel Allens in all the holes, so everything is covered up. There's no open holes type of thing. Still got to finish bolting that in, but still got a lot of work to do on it. But for the most part, this is a good look of how it's going to look inside the car. Like I said, I painted the block and the water pump to match the heads and the intake, because these are raw. That's raw aluminum that's been bead blasted, and I wanted the block, to kind of have the same look. So that's bead blasted there. It's a little bit dark only because it needs to be cleaned. But go back here and you can see it matches pretty good. So stainless steel headers. I had tri-Y headers that I was going to put on, but they weren't stainless steel, so I had to step it up. I got the Sniper EFI Holley carburetor on there, the MSD ignition, so it should rip. On paper, it should be a little over 400 horsepower, like 420 horsepower. Could be north of that, but I'm just trying to be conservative and not get my hopes too high. There's things like this I gotta change. This is the motor mount, and that looks stupid being gold, so I'll end up painting that. I wish I would have got chrome ones or something to match the starter. Oil pan's all polished aluminum. The oil pan for the transmission matches it exactly. So the whole idea was I wanted the oil pan and the valve covers and everything to kind of flow, have the same lines. But yeah, so we're getting there. It's a work in progress. The other piece of bodywork that I gotta do, see if I can open up the hood, is, you can kind of see down here, it's the back side of the grill, right? So I'm gonna fill that hole. That one I'll leave because those are access points. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm changing my mind right now. I'm gonna fill both those holes. Both those and that one there. Originally those were used for the marker lights, turn signal lights, but I'm gonna relocate that so it doesn't stand out, so you can't see it. The other thing I'm doing is I got to, even though this firewall is done and all pretty, I'm taking a grinder to it next week, and I'm gonna cut out a piece of metal, and I'm gonna cut out that windshield wiper hole mount, and that's gonna get filled in and made perfectly flat along with everything else, so that way the firewall is 100% smooth and flat, and the windshield wiper mechanism will be in the cowl, underneath the cowl inside there, so you won't see it that way, and it'll just clean up the engine compartment a little bit more. You know, I did things like I cleaned up the there used to be the all kinds of shaping in that wheel well. Clean that out. It would have been nice to put carbon fiber ones in there, but the budget doesn't allow for that. So got the CVF, I think that's what it is, right? Yeah, CVF hood hinges there. So something I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet is the underside of the hood. Obviously that hole there is for the air filter. It's still going to be utilized. I almost think I might just get the original insulation and put it back in there, because this will all be high gloss. It'll be nice, but I may just put the original insulation in there. But other than that, that is about it. I'm just happy. I'm happy with the front end now. So it ended up turning out pretty good. Just need to wrap things up. So other than that, that's about a wrap. Gonna get to go to bed at a decent hour tonight. So all right, so I'll do another update maybe next month. See ya.